morning. This is my morning movement. You can do squats down the driveway, or lunges down the driveway, holding some leftover lasagna, because my morning movement time was spent on the phone with my dad for Father's Day. He has a cabin 2 provinces away, and he loves to spend pretty much the entire summer there. So we don't get to see him physically for Father's Day, but the telephone is a wonderful invention. So I will keep lunging and then say good morning to Feather and Fur. I'd show you what I have for lunch today, seeing as a lot of it did come from the garden either this year or last. So this is a watermelon mint smoothie, and the mint is just out there on the deck. This is the tomato soup that I made last fall from homegrown tomatoes and onion and all the other good things. And this is just a herb cheese on rye vita with arugula, which is also out there on the deck. Pretty good lunch, I'd say. No, here we go. So for this very special Father's Day dessert, we start with some graham crackers, crumbs, and butter. I didn't measure either. I'm just gonna whisk them together. And if they look like they're gonna stick, then that's the right amount of butter. Yep, see, changed color. Perfect. So then I'm gonna just squish some of this into the bottom of each of these little dishes. Once they've all been squished in, I'll pop them in the oven for about 15 minutes. No, probably 10 minutes. Yeah, 10. While the oven preheats, I'm gonna do a little bit of work with these lovely fresh cherries. So I'm gonna begin by pitting the cherries. And then I'll cut them up and put them into a saucepan. I'm following a recipe, but I'm not following the amounts. I'm just going to maybe do some math, maybe wing it. Just get it about right to make a cherry pie filling. Except we're not making cherry pie. Into the oven, 350 for 10 minutes or so. So I'm just cutting the cherries, whoops, there's a pit. Cherries into smaller pieces and popping them in the saucepan. And popping a few in my mouth too. I'm just gonna add a little splash of, I know you're probably thinking I'm gonna use kirsch, but no, I don't like kirsch so much. I'm using Chambord. I don't think there's anything wrong with adding a little bit of raspberry liqueur to the cherries. Whoops, a little bit of sugar. And I'll pop them on the stove. I have about a tablespoon of cornstarch, and I'm just gonna add enough of the Chambord to make like a slurry, and maybe splash more. Whoops, I splashed it all over the counter. And there, that's perfect. I'm gonna leave these things outside on the deck to cool. in a spot Tilly can't reach. Because even though it's sunny now, it's still pretty cold outside. And that means they'll cool off nice and fast. So that's what we want. Cherries are actually, yeah, I'm not gonna put this whole thing in. I'll put a little bit and that'll be all we need. That should do it. There, turn the heat off. And there's our beautiful cherries ready for the next step. Okay, for my next trick, I'm gonna mix together 2 cups of milk. That's the second cup going in there. Half a cup of cocoa powder. And 1.5 cups of sugar. And just mix it all around. All right, now we gotta separate some eggs, whites, yolks. These are not our eggs. Normally I would use our eggs, but we're having a big breakfast here on Sunday, and part of the breakfast meal, there we go, get the goo off, is a make your own omelet deal, and I really want to serve our own eggs. So I actually paid $7 and bought eggs today. It felt a little bit dirty, like I was cheating on my chickens, but needs must sometimes. The chocolate sauce on the stove is it's not too warm, just a little bit warm, and I'm just gonna pour maybe like half a cup in with the eggs, and the rest will go back on the stove. Alrighty, to this mixture I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of flour and a pinch of salt. Perfect. Okay, the stovetop mixture is warm, like pretty hot. You can see the steam. I'm gonna very slowly pour some of it in to bring the eggs up to temperature without cooking them in chunks. Now this is called tempering. If you've ever done this wrong, you know how gross it is. The eggs just cook, turn into chunks, and I mean that's fine if you're making an egg drop soup, but it's pretty gross in a dessert. So we'll take our time and do it right. Okay, now we're just gonna pour this back into the saucepan, put that back over the heat, and cook it until it turns into pudding. You just gotta keep stirring. You don't want anything to stick or cook funny or burn. So, yep, it's a bit of a test of patience, but worth it in the end. Just keep stirring until that's nice and thick and bubbly. So you can see that it's bubbling and getting very thick. Just gonna keep stirring it while it boils for another minute or so. And this can go outside to cool for a bit until I'm ready to assemble the desserts. So you can get way fancier with this, but I'm on a bit of a time crunch, so I am just gonna put these together. Like that. So a little bit of cherry and a big scoop of chocolate. Okay, the last thing I have to do at home is make the brown butter caramel sauce. And I need, let's see, 125, 90 mils of butter. That's gonna pop that onto the stove. So just working at browning the butter. Not quite there yet, but it smells really good. Okay, I think we are ready. Just gonna strain that. We don't really want to keep those chunks. I'm just cooking the sugar, waiting for it to start to melt into caramel. Not quite there yet. So we melt the sugar and then let it brown. Then we add the brown butter, remove from heat, and add the cream. And that should make a delicious caramel sauce. Okay, it's a little chunky, but I think it'll work. So caramel on 6 and cherry on 6. We're gonna call those ones Black Forest. And then when we get to our Father's Day dinner tonight at my in-laws, we will add whipped cream on top. There we are. Okay, well, here it is. This is the wrap dress. I love some parts of it. I love the way it gathers in the back. I love the elastic band here. I really like the way the ties attach, but there are definitely some things I will change for the next one. The first is I think I've got to lift up where the V is because I've had to pin it. The second is that this part here, the seam on the bodice, is a little high. Third is definitely the sleeves. We won't even go there. I didn't have time to make them nice. And the directions were not really clear. I'll actually show you. There were some things that like here are my notes. I had to make a bunch of notes on there. And probably the most confusing part was in the beginning. It shows you how to cut the fabric, and then but it doesn't tell you what to put interfacing on. And there is like the second step does kind of talk about interfacing, but it is not clear. And also it's missing a step that is only written on the pattern piece to stitch the top bodice to the bottom. Nowhere in the pattern does it say that. So that kind of screwed me up a little bit, but overall it's like a really pretty good pattern, and I will definitely make another one. Like I said, this part needs a little bit of loving. I think what I have to do actually is shorten this part and then take that part down the seam, like make this part longer. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. But anyway, we're off for our Father's Day supper, so we'll see you in a bit.